It's the Score North Twin Show.
A little Friday edition, a Feedback Friday edition of the Score North Twin Show here. Presented by KS Drywall, gentlemen. Providing full drywall, plaster repair, interior painting services, popcorn ceiling texture removal, anything you need. And by the way, if it's something small, like an emergency repair, or if it's a new construction, something bigger, no job is too big or too small for KS Drywall. We've met the guys at KS Drywall, just a big Minnesota sports fans. Sometimes Minnesota sports makes you punch a hole in your drywall. Well, KS Drywall can come in and fix it. And on that popcorn ceiling texture, if you're looking to sell your property, maybe you're looking to do a little remodel, make it look a little more modern, they can help you smooth that out and potentially even upgrade the value of your home with all sorts of interior work. KSDrywall.com to schedule a free estimate. KSDrywall.com. Also, KS Drywall on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Gentlemen, there's a fall crisp in the air. Playoff baseball is on the horizon. The Twins still have like a 90+% chance to make the playoffs, but it just kind of feels gray right now over this franchise, you know?
It's a little overcasty.
Yeah.
But I will say, hey, they can get hot here in 2 weeks. Or it's all about how you finish to get in there. Like Texas and Arizona, both wild card teams last year, both two teams that I don't think anyone picked to make it all the way to the World Series, and then they found themselves in a great World Series. So I don't love using always the hilarious, if it happened to this team, you know, it'll happen to the Twins.
Because you've had 100 other examples of a team just never came back from
I think one of the worst things to happen for announcer crutches was when the Washington Nationals were like 30 games, not 30, but like 15 games out of 500 on June 1st, and then they won the World Series, and every broadcast, I feel like, was like, well, if it happened to this team, that can happen to us. Like, no, it can't. Yeah. That's not how that works. But I do think there's enough time here to hopefully get hot, get right, get healthy. But you are, for the lack of time, running out of that time option to really get hot and get your stuff figured out.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say this. If Correa and Buxton are done, don't come back, you know, that's why it feels gray. Because it's like, can this current collection of Twins without those two guys get hot with starting pitching that's not exactly deep and make a whole playoff run? Like, I don't believe that Texas and the D-backs were without multiple key players. Like, if this team had its pitching back, if Ryan was back, Correa was still playing, and let's say Buxton's hurt, but he's coming back, you know, he didn't re-aggravate the hip, right? Buxton. I think it would feel pretty good. Because, like, the slump that they went through, in which they played some incredibly stupid baseball, it's going to happen. Like you're going to go through slumps. What I think makes it, to Phil's term, sort of murky and gray is more the who they're missing and huge question marks about, are we going to see them again? And if so, when? Because as Patrick said on Unchained yesterday, can you just put Correa back in game one of the playoffs and he's the same guy who made the All-Star game? So all of this is why I am a little bit like, yeah, this is, I mean, they're good, but there's a big but.
And what's amazing is, despite the Twins playing their worst, or it's on par with the beginning of the season in terms of how bad they've been playing record-wise the last couple weeks, they've actually gained ground on the teams that are fighting for that last wild card spot. I mean, they've lost ground on the Royals, but the Royals also lost a bunch of games in a row. But the Twins are sitting here still 5.5 games clear of the Tigers and the Mariners to at least stay in the playoff picture. And then the Red Sox are 6 games back of the Twins. Twins are in that second wild card spot going into the weekend. If the playoffs started today, correct me if I'm wrong on this, it'd be the Twins and the Yankees at Yankee Stadium in a 3-game wild card series. So could the Twins, as currently constructed, beat the Yankees 2 out of 3? And I would say anything can happen between any two baseball teams 2 out of 3, unless it's the Twins and the Yankees historically the last 25 years. So,
right.
So a couple Feedback Friday questions for the crew here. This one from Cole. Hope this message finds you terribly, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cole.
I have some really reckless sports dad speculation about the Carlos Correa situation. After listening to the Trevor Plouffe episode on how he hasn't heard anything internally and how if it's good news, usually it's talked about in the clubhouse. What if Correa is prolonging, in quotes, his injury because of his frustrations with the front office and how the trade deadline was handled? And maybe he's going to request to be traded in the offseason. This is Cole just sort of speculating recklessly here.
Well, I thought it was extremely intriguing on a Reckless Speculation Thursday scoop with Doogie, that Doogie basically said that, he is hearing from his spies, his sources, that they're like, Correa saying, I'm at 65%, I can't play it. And they're like, hold on a second here. You played last year, and yeah, you're not as good, but you're an improvement. Like we need you. And Correa is dragging his feet. I think this is a very interesting bit of speculation, and I certainly have thought of it as well. I am more concerned that Correa was just flat out, and it's sort of been like it was written about and then dismissed, that Correa said, this is my right foot. That's where my bad ankle is. Yeah. I would be far more concerned that this silence is because there is real concern about, I don't know a thing about the foot. How is that tied into the ankle?
Well, it's next to it. So.
But I mean, it's plantar fasciitis, which is a problem that can be eventually rectified, but he's got a bad ankle. And I will say this, we know the Mets and Giants voided their contracts because of that. We still don't know what the exact issue is. What's the exact concern? So I'm more concerned about that actually being a problem. And
we're not doctors here. We're not what do they call a foot doctor? A podiatrist. We're not. Is there a special word or name for an ankle specialist? Foot doctors or podiatrists, or
would a podiatrist handle an ankle? I mean,
podiatrist is still.
They'd handle the ankle too?
Yeah.
Okay.
A podiatrist is a doctor with specialized training to treat foot and ankle disorders.
Okay. So we're not podiatrists on this show.
Yeah.
But we've been watching and covering sports long enough here in all of our lives and careers to know that there is a kinetic intertwining of the different bones and muscles and ligaments where if you have a forearm or elbow issue and you try to pitch through it, your body starts to avoid pain in forearm, elbow, could put extra stress on shoulder, for instance, right? Mm-hmm. And what's alarming about this Correa thing is two teams with huge payrolls,
right,
who go and sign pretty much anyone, especially the Mets. The Mets were $300 million payroll at one point. Those franchises drew a line in the sand and said, ooh, that ankle is a ticking time bomb, and we don't feel comfortable continuing this discussion, so let's just bow out. Both teams said the same thing. And this is the first time Carlos Correa, since signing the contract back with the Twins a couple years ago, has brought up ankle as a problem. Not directly, but hey, so I could see just connecting the dots here. I'm not a podiatrist, but if you have a weakened foot that sits right below or next to the chronically weakened ankle, if you start to play on that weakened foot, does it cause more stress on the chronically weakened ankle? And I'm going to I don't know, but I think that's what's happening here. And this is the first time where he is validating the concerns about the ankle that two teams drew a line in the sand on.
And if you guys recall, when Correa came back here and signed his contract, Boris especially attacked the podiatrist community and they were mocking the fact that two teams that have a lot to spend, and especially, Phil, you're correct, the Mets, basically were okay, there's a concern here. And then what really worries me is Correa, because the Twins have not said a thing about this. Correa brought this up a couple of weeks ago. And now to piggyback off your point, what I'm curious about was the plantar fasciitis in his left foot brought on by overcompensation because of the problem with his right one? This is a slippery slope, and we all knew this could, it's not oh my God, I can't believe it, but it is very quickly to have this problem.
And just to circle back on Cole's question, I'll just answer for myself. Do I think he's frustrated with the trade deadline, but hasn't necessarily come out publicly and aired the Twins out? I do personally, and maybe Declan can add more light to that. Do I think he is sitting out these games in protest of the front office? No. I think ankle concern on top of foot pain is the driving reason for why he hasn't played a game in, a month and a half or whatever it's been.
I think the biggest chunk of pie here is he is looking at his long-term health, and that ankle is a ticking time bomb. And if two teams said no, he's locked in. Yes, he's getting his money regardless because it's baseball, but he's looking at the long term here, and he doesn't want to sacrifice availability in 2025 if it meant I can't play at my 100th%. I like this team, but clearly we're not on the same par as some other ones. Yes, you need to get into the dance regardless. I don't really look at the front office thing as being an issue. I also completely recklessly here, like he wears Nike cleats, and he has refused, at least I was told at one time, was refusing to wear another type of shoe to help alleviate the pain. That's something I brought up like months ago when this was first starting. And he has refused to wear a non-Nike shoe. And talking to other just people, athletes, about shoes in sports, and this goes like beyond baseball, lacrosse and other things. Nike, as cool and as great as they are, does not make the best shoe for your foot. When we reviewed Crazy Stupid Love and that how New Balances have come out and now are the big thing. New Balance is all of a sudden gone from this joke, hilarious dad shoe from 12 years ago to Shohei Ohtani representing it. Kawhi Leonard, I believe, represents it. It is now that it's not just a joke of a shoe. It is a shoe that is designed to be good for your foot and help you help you avoid injuries. So I think there's a lot of things at play. I think the biggest chunk, though, is he's looking at his long-term health and knowing that that ankle is a problem. And I do think that the plantar fasciitis and the ankle, yes, are definitely related, 100%.
Tyler Anderson says, I don't care how much Correa or Royce Lewis love Rocco Baldelli, but I think it's time to move on from Baldelli. He continues to be incompetent and not make great decisions, mostly on the pitching side. How long is this tenure going to last? The Twins need a fresh start next season at manager and hopefully a better outcome in 2025. What are your guys' thoughts in general on Rocco Baldelli? Approval rating, like what's your evaluation of him right now?
When things were going bad last year, and but by this point in time in the 2023 season, the Twins had gotten hot. But when I called for his job in July, we talked about this, and here's my feeling. It used to be in the old days, the manager managed the team. It was his team, right? And if he got off track or the owner or GM didn't like what that guy was doing, he was fired. But we talked about the fact that this is now, I think, everyone's involved. Like if you walk by Baldelli's office after games, which Dex does continually, Derek Falvey and Thad, but at least Derek, are in there every time. Like they're talking over everything that he did. It's not Rocco in a vacuum. And no manager now, aside from a crusty old one, would ever tell the GM, get out of here. No. So I don't think it's a simple...
Gardy used to do that sometimes.
Yeah. Right. But I'm saying we're now to a point where I don't think we can have, as frustrating as this might be, because it's nebulous, I don't think we can have conversations about the manager is going to be fired. I mean, you guys, look, Aaron Boone has survived through a lot.
Yeah, managers in baseball are a really easy scapegoat.
Sure.
But they're very rarely like the key or the cog to unlocking something. I think a manager's influence on train wrecking a team is much greater than a manager's influence on like squeezing an extra 10 or 15 wins out of a roster.
Right.
And so like to me, a manager's job in today's game boils down to two main categories. Number one, tactical strategy, and a lot of that is driven by 2:00 meetings before a game ever even before
Correct.
batting practice. It's
yes.
What are the matchups, lefty righty, who's available in the bullpen. There's a lot of just predetermined plug and play moves in baseball, and then there's a little bit of nuance to sort of make artistic decisions. Some franchises leave very little room for nuance. Some leave a little bit more. But those like tactical strategy things, we've debated some of that stuff with Rocco. The Twins are very platoon heavy. Sometimes it seems like they lean on certain relievers when they shouldn't. And so there's a debate there. But the second category is the one that's more nebulous and hard to quantify, but the one that flared up the most this last week. It's create an environment that gives all of the players in the organization underneath you a chance to reach their peak potential. So, like, if your presence as a manager or your lack of communication or your personality is rubbing people the wrong way or causing stress, or maybe you're not disseminating and communicating information from the analytics department or the front office in a way that connects with players, like all of that stuff can lead to players either blossoming or falling on their face. Hard to quantify, but when you have the star player of the team come out publicly and criticize the organization and the manager for putting him in a spot that he's not comfortable, like that, now you're violating the second part of what I just brought up, which is, are you allowing Royce Lewis to perform at his peak capabilities, or is Royce being a malcontent and needs to just take a deep breath? I don't really know.
But the problem there is Falvey's involved. Like, there's no way that
totally.
that Baldelli just said,
agreed,
you go to second base, and Derek and That are like, are you sure about that? And he's like, yeah, get out of my office. And he's going to second base. So that's the problem, is like, we're talking about, if you're going to fire Rocco, the next guy is going to make decisions very similar, I think, because he's going to be, it's not a puppet. That's not fair. That's too condescending. It's a guy that's executing what the people above him. Yeah. Extension. That's perfect. But I mean, like, Royce is upset with the entire front office. He's not just upset at Baldelli. So Dex, I think this is a tough conversation, because I don't think decisions are going to change if you change the manager. So
obviously I've gotten to be around Rocco a lot over this season for the first time. And I think Rocco is and I mean this, I think he is an elite baseball mind. I really do. I think he knows the game very, very well and knows things that probably don't convey to the common fan in a pregame interview, or just looking at him or watching him or just analyzing his decisions. I think he's a very smart guy when it comes to baseball decisions, and having conversations off the record with him, it's been really eye-opening and cool to kind of hear him peel back some of those layers. But I do believe, and I kind of lean with Plouffe here, he doesn't seem to have a lot of like the baseball cliche ways he carries himself. Baseball players are very much creatures of habit. We all know that. They like their routines. They know what it takes. They grinded in the minor leagues. They fought like hell to stay in the major leagues. And Rocco, who also dealt with some very obviously horrible injuries that weren't just physical ones for him, that cut his playing career short. When he was a manager with Tampa Bay, he was a first base coach. And then he was, let's see here, I had this pulled up. He was a first base coach, and then he was major league field coordinator, which analyzed the tendencies of opposing hitters, coaching defensive skills of players, helping them implement defensive strategies during the games. I.e., this guy, despite having a first base coach and the other coordinator position I listed, was never a manager at any level of baseball. And I'm not saying that has hurt him, but when you have had players like Paul Molitor who know the game so well and can pick out things, and Gardy just being like a classic, as Phil has talked about stories about him just being a so many hilarious garden hire tendencies, I think that has prevented him from maybe being the best manager he can be, is not having the experience of being a full big league or managing of any minor league team. I think that has held him back a little bit.
I don't think he's a bad manager.
No.
I don't know that he is a needle-moving, inspirational manager either. But to Judd's point,
I agree with that.
I don't know that there's even like room in the game for that anymore. There's not,
right.
Gardenhire during his peak was allowed free reign, essentially. Like, here's the roster, and you get to sort of color however you want to. And I'm sure there's decisions that you would make that were incorrect based on a gut feel and not leaning on analytics. And, people used to make fun of him for always putting a slap hitter in the number 2 hole. And, when it made more sense to just put one of your best hitters in the number 2 hole. But I think the interesting contrast now is you've got a bunch of people that have been in baseball for their entire lives that are being stripped of the ability to make decisions based on what they feel and think, and instead they make decisions based on numbers, analytics, and predetermined outcomes. And I think you need to lean on that, but is there some artistic gray area that the Twins could and should be tapping into, or a human element that they need to pay more attention to? My gut says yes, but they're also sitting here about to make the playoffs again. They've been in playoff contention 6 out of 8 years in the Derek Falvey regime after having some really dark seasons between like 2011 and 2017. So largely what they're doing is producing wins. Is it leading to championships? Nowhere close to that yet. There's also like payroll discussions layered on top of all of this too that make it difficult. So
well, that comes from above those guys. But
yeah.
Here's two things about Baldelli that I think are safe to say, but they're unknowns. I have no idea if he really believes that in August or September, Royce Lewis should be moved to second base. I also have no idea if he really thinks that Griffin Jax, after 10 pitches in San Diego, should be taken out.
Right.
I think it's very safe to say he doesn't. Here's what I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt to say that he is being, at times, told what the expectation is. Rocco Baldelli, if I'm not mistaken, in Tampa Bay for a time period was around Joe Madden, right? Mm-hmm. Joe Madden combined, I think, the new world and old world as well as anybody I've seen. Personable, an authority, but not a jackass. Certainly understood what his bosses wanted, but appeared to have more freedom. Baldelli's not a dumb, unperceptive person. He saw that. So I would love to know over, about 8 beers from Rocco or something that he might enjoy. What would you really like to do? Like, do you really think, and he got ripped for it and deserved it, but do you guys really think at the end of the day that he thought, you know what I want to do? Bring in Stephen Oker. Now, if he didn't want to, he could have put his foot down. I'm just saying, I think this conversation, to me, it's so layered now by people that we didn't used to consider having a voice in a momentary decision that can make or break a game.
Yeah. No, your point about do we really know what, if it was just up to Rocco, would you put Royce Lewis at second base? That's we don't know.
My guess is no.
Is that driven by, hey, this is something we think that if you can push through the initial griping, everyone should be able to play multiple positions. And by the way, like that philosophy is a good philosophy. The more position flexibility you have as a team, the less hampered you are if a player or two lands on the injured list and now you're like, oh, what do? We have this guy that only plays this one position.
But the timing
or these 3 guys.
That's the thing. The timing of it's so odd.
Yep.
Like he doesn't want to right now, and it's like, okay, I sort of get that.
Yeah.
But I think Rocco is basically, if you read his quotes too, I think he double talks a lot because he's saying partially what he thinks, and then he's saying partially what he knows they think to defend them. Like the Jax thing. He talked himself in circles about, we don't want to throw a guy more than an inning at times. We have to be very careful. But then at the end, he came back and said, but in future games, we might throw him too. It's like,
and then didn't he throw? He's throwing multiple innings or parts of multiple innings now, at least a couple times.
He threw 1 pitch yesterday and came back. But the point is, I think those quotes reflect partially what Rocco believes, Declan, and partially what Falvey believes. And I think that's where it gets a little confusing.
I mean, and maybe again, I'm using extreme examples here, like we talked about on the top of the show, but do you think Bruce Bochy and Brian Snitker go into decision-making with the analytic and all the data information, or are these guys who are in their late 60s and are much older than Rocco are going off their gut and baseball feel?
I think they're considering trends in analytics. And by the way, every manager throughout history has had information, scouting information. The amount and the type of information has differed and become more, I guess, more voluminous. But yeah, like Bruce Bochy's not being told what to do to the degree that. And by the way, Joe Madden, I think, would love to still manage. He's only 70, but he's a young 70. And he was on a podcast recently. He's basically been like kicked out of the league.
Yeah.
Because he's got a certain way he likes to do things, and it doesn't always jive with being kumbaya with the front office. So, anyways, let's get to an Immaculate Grid, huh? The Twins were on the grid earlier this week. It was like 5 days ago. But it's been a while since we've done Twins on the Grid here. So Dex will pop this up for the YouTube audience. We will explain it for the audio audience. Okay, so we're looking to fill these 9 squares, ideally with the most obscure answers possible, so we can get a low rarity score. So the rarity score is like if you pick the most obvious player that was a Twin and a Yankee, then that maybe 60% of the rest of the people picked, your rarity score for that box would be a 60. We're looking for obscure players. So we're looking for a Twin who was a Ranger, a Twin who was a Yankee, and a Twin who belted 30 home runs in a season. We're looking for a Guardian who was a Ranger, a Guardian who was a Yankee, and a Guardian who belted 30 homers in a season. Then we're looking for a player who played center field for at least one game as a Ranger, also as a Yankee, and then a player who played center field for at least one game who also had a 30 home run season.
Okay.
So, Judd, which Twin square would you like to start in here?
I got a couple of potential nominations from the 70s for Twins and Rangers.
Okay.
Both of them are dead.
Do you
Danny
get bonus
Thompson.
points for that?
Danny Thompson was a shortstop who had leukemia at the time that Calvin included him in the Blyleven trade.
Jeez.
And the recently deceased former third baseman Mike Cubbage came over with Roy Smalley in the trade that was made. I believe that also involved Burt. I believe that was all in the Blyleven trade.
What's your confidence on rarity score here?
Danny Thompson, I think, is going to be incredibly low. The man's been dead since like 1975.
I mean, I'm down for that.
Okay.
I mean,
down for that.
I don't think Twins fans who would drive this are going to remember him.
Eddie Gordado is the first one that popped into my head.
I had Scott Baker.
Scott Baker. Yeah. Phil Nevin. That's another one.
0.6. for
0.6,
Danny Thompson.
okay.
Ding, ding, ding.
Ding, ding, ding.
There you go, boys.
Twins Yankee.
Twins, Yankees. A lot of 90s options.
Kevin Moss.
Kevin Moss.
You remember Kevin Moss? He was,
MAAS, right?
yes, one of Herbeck's
Moss.
replacements.
Yes.
Wow. I mean,
Roberto Kelly in the 90s.
Sidney Ponson.
Yeah. Mike
Rondell
Pagliarulo. Rondell White, yeah.
Ruben Sierra.
John Ryan Murphy. Ruben Sierra.
Oh.
Doug Mankiewicz
Did
played
Jake-
for the Yankees.
Did Jake Cave get at bats with
Oh, yeah.
the Yankees?
I think he did.
Before he came here.
I think he did.
Oh yeah, he had the fuck. No,
No, that's a good
I'm
question.
thinking of
Dak.
Tyler Austin did.
Tyler Austin.
Yeah, that's another good
That might
one.
be a good one.
And then did they trade into the Giants?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of where Tyler.
Yes, they went to the Giants afterwards.
Okay.
right.
What Kevin Moss though?
Kevin
might
A
Moss.
lot of
be
names, boys. A lot of names.
You said
MAAS, right?
Yep. He'll show up.
Kevin Moss.
Kevin Moss.
There he is.
0.2.
0.2. Ding ding. Okay, Twins who hit 30 homers in a season. I feel like we've had this one a few times, so it's kind of
Yeah. And it
Whoever
has
we
to be
wanna
with
choose.
it has to be with that team,
With-
correct?
yeah.
With
yeah.
the Twins.
Okay.
So I think we've used Kadire
Yeah.
and Kubel, right?
I don't believe Kubel ever hit 30 with the Twins though.
Oh, I thought he that 09 year. I thought he got to 30.
Kubel hit 30 with the Diamondbacks one time.
That's right.
I don't think he hit 30 with the Twins. I think 28 was his high.
We used Cuddy.
Dozier,
Dozier, I was going to say.
Brunansky. There's a bunch of
Did
like
Brunansky get
80s.
to 30?
Couple times.
Yeah, because I think.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Before Morneau did it in 06, like Bruno was the last guy.
Okay.
Like it was a long stretch of.
This is
no
not a
30
long
home run
list.
hitters. Yeah,
Like, this
yeah.
is not a huge
Josh
list.
Willingham,
Hammer.
Willingham.
That's not bad.
Mitch Garver in the Bomba Squad season with Miguel Sano did it.
I don't know if Garvsauce got to 30.
Wasn't he?
He won Silver Slugger and but he only played like 90 games because he was a catcher and Twins.
The
used to
Hammer's not a
split him.
bad one, you guys.
I like Willingham.
the Hammer?
Let's do the Hammer.
The Hammer.
But yeah, this is not a long list, unfortunately.
Come on, be like 1%.
Oh, no, it's good.
0.9.
0.9. Ding ding, MFers.
Kirby got to 30, right?
Oh yeah.
You want to use Kirby? for 30 and center field 1.
This should be pretty.
Or Torrey Hunter.
Or Torrey. Kirby or Torrey? Torrey's
Which
more
one's
recent.
gonna be?
Kirby's a Hall of Famer.
Let's go Kirby.
Yeah, because I feel
Kirby.
like, yeah.
The Curb Master.
Kirby bucket.
Turkey bucket.
1.
1%.
Exactly 1.
Very, very nice. Very nice.
Ding 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 ding.
Very
All right, where do we want to go here? We're sitting pretty good.
Carl Pavano would work for Yankee Guardian. The Twins got him from the
man.
Guardians.
Yep.
That might
I
be a
know
higher
Yankee
one than you
fans-
think.
Yeah, I mean Yankee
Because
fans.
he was on the back page of the Post pretty much every day for like 3 years.
Chris Chambliss from the
He-
70s.
He still might be popular, but I know Kerry Wood would work for Yankees and Guards
Chris
as a
Chambliss.
reliever.
My buddy Jim Brower played for both the Indians and the Yankees
Jimmy
in the
Brower.
late 90s, early
Excelsior's
2000s.
finest.
I'm good with that.
Golden Gopher,
Yeah. He's from my neck of the woods.
Jimmy Brower. Once led the league in, I think, appearances.
Oh,
.01.
that.
.01. Let's go.
Hell yeah.
Great call. Yeah.
Golden
I
Gopher.
didn't see you coming out with that one, or I would not have said a thing. Because
He
like
was
once
also-
you drop Brower, it's like, yeah,
He was an Indian. He was a giant.
Dex and I
Because he
are
played
like-
with Barry Bonds.
brainstorming these guys who have
Yeah,
decent
yeah, yeah.
careers, but we're like,
And he just
okay,
like,
this guy
bang.
might be 3%, and then you come out with Jimmy Brower.
Oh
Yeah.
That's right. You want another obscure reliever? An Indian who was a Ranger? I think he got traded to the Rangers. Dave Burba pitched for both of those teams.
Oh,
Remember
really?
Dave Burba from
Oh, yeah.
the early 2000s?
Giant at one time, right?
He was a giant.
I
He
think
was
I
one of those
owned
guys
him
that
on
just
my
kind of
rotisserie league
bounced
team.
around.
Back in the 90s, I think I owned him.
All right.
I think he was on those early 2000s
Look at that career.
Guardians teams that,
14
Okay.
years.
yeah.
I'll pull it.
Dave Burba.
.2.
.2.
Look at how serious he is.
Oh, yeah.
Very
He's,
serious.
Look at those eyes. Like, he's got the serial killer thing going.
he's ready to paint the corner
Dave
with a
Burba.
91-mile-an-hour fastball.
All right, call him. Okay.
Okay, so now we're looking for, we have 3 squares left. A Guardian who hit 30 homers in a season, a Ranger who played center field, and a Yankee who played center
Oh,
field.
did Andre Thornton hit 30 in a season? Big
Boy.
power hitter.
Let's stick on
Joe
center
Carter.
field. Or Joe Carter.
No,
Okay.
not with Cleveland, right? Oh, yeah, no. He probably did. Because he went from the Cubs to Cleveland in the Sutcliffe trade. You're probably right.
No, I mean, okay. I was thinking played for team and hit 30. I'm not sure if he hit 30 with Cleveland.
Oh, you're not.
So,
Okay. I thought you were, and I
You'd
just...
probably be a little high, but Carlos Santana, current Twin, would work.
There's another Cleveland.
I mean, think about the 90s. Tommy, Manny Ramirez, Juan Gonzalez, David Justice was, I don't know if he hit
I bet he
30.
didn't hit 30.
Jason Kipnis.
Ellis Burks. Ellis Burks had
Did Ellis Burks hit
a
30 in
bunch
Cleveland?
of power. Because
He
he
did hit
was
a
with
ton
the
of homers
Rockies, the
in Boston.
Giants, hit a bunch of homers.
He was in Boston.
Michael
Yeah.
Brantley.
Michael Brantley.
See, I don't know about...
Sizemore?
Grady probably did it.
Did he get to 30?
Albert Bell.
Albert Bell.
Travis
who was the-
Hafner.
Ooh, Hafner. People forget about Hafner.
Ooh, I bet he did.
The Rhino.
Yeah, I wonder if Andre Thornton got there. Yeah. Travis Hafner's not a bad one.
Hafner?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go Hafner. Part of me wants to throw a flyer on Ellis Burks, but
That's
we
it.
don't need to blow it. We don't need to
I'm
blow
not
it.
playing that game.
6.
That's okay.
Okay. That's what it is.
I'm going to check one thing that has nothing to do with that now, because I just want to see if Andre Thornton got to 31 year.
Is there
Then
any
look up
center,
Ellis Burks too.
former center fielders that played for the Twins that also were Rangers or Yankees?
Well, Aaron Hicks would be the
Aaron Hicks. Might be a little
obvious
high.
one. Yeah. You're looking for former Twins just for obscurity's
Yeah.
sake,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
Did they ever? I mean, they threw Knobloch in left. Did they ever shift him over to center for a
Got
minute?
to 30. Shoot. Ellis Burks now. Hold on.
Ellis. Thornton did.
Yeah, he did once. 33 1 year, late 70s.
I'm trying to think. I mean, Twins have actually had pretty much cornerstone center fielders, but I'm thinking of obscure random substitutes.
Well, Rondell, or I'm sorry,
2002,
2000 Ellis Burks.
32.
Oh man, so either
He
one
hit
of those.
40 with the Rockies, which is not surprising.
Everybody hit 40 with the
I
Rockies.
know. Sorry, that juice ball.
what's his name? Roberto Kelly probably played center field for the Yankees, right?
He did. Yep. I think he was
Former
I think
Twin.
He was the center fielder before Bernie Williams.
Yeah. Let's do that.
Roberto Kelly.
This is
Roberto
right.
Kelly.
Oh, 1%. That's great.
1%.
He was a good player.
And then a Ranger who played center field.
Was Jordan Schaefer a Ranger?
Oh.
He was a Brave.
He was an Angel? A Brave.
A Brave. And then,
I don't know if he went to...
came back as a pitcher in the minors.
Mickey
after.
Rivers.
Mookie Rivers?
Mickey
Ricky
Rivers.
Rivers.
Mick the Quick.
Gary Matthews Jr. made... Was it
One
with
of the-
Texas that he made one of the greatest catches of all time?
That was with
in
the
center?
Angels.
Or it was with the Angels
Yeah,
at Texas,
when he made that
maybe?
catch, I don't
But
know
he
if
definitely played center field for Texas for a few years.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of other dudes from like the 90s, early 2000s. Lance Nix. Marlon Byrd had a run
Marlon
with the
Byrd.
Rangers.
Loved Marlon
Yeah.
Byrd. Great.
So-
Did
guy.
Otis Nixon play for the Rangers? He played for like 9 teams.
He played for everybody, as we found out when I did the random twin. He played for like every
Did I-
single team.
Can I at least
Eric Young played some center and some second base.
So,
the clues?
so Mickey Rivers was best known as a Yankee. Got traded to Texas. I think it might have been in a Sparky Lyle trade.
Oh,
and
Mickey
Sparky
for Sparky?
Lyle.
And people don't remember him. I don't think so. I'm willing to bet. I'm sure he played
Okay.
there. I'm willing to bet this will be low.
You're hot with
Mickey-
the old school guys here, so let's do it. Mickey
Mickey
Rivers.
Oh, Rivers. Yeah,
There he
it
is.
sparks in my brain.
Yep.
Mickey Rivers. 4%.
All right, so 15. That's a pretty good rarity score. It's not our. I think our best one's like 4%.
So 10 on
For the
those
whole
two
grid.
squares alone.
It's pretty good, boys.
No, not bad.
Nice
Good.
job.
Good job.
Nice job. The Immaculate Grid Challenge. Twins are probably due to be on the grid again. This was September 1st. They'll probably be on the grid again next week. So, yeah. And by the way, keep an eye on Declan's Extra Innings podcast in addition to the main episodes, Trevor Plouffe Tuesday. The best thing you can do to help us grow the Score North Twin Show down the stretch here is to subscribe to the Score North Twin Show YouTube channel and give us a 5-star rating and a positive review on Apple and Spotify. Here's what you can do. Tell us your favorite obscure twin that we should consider for the Immaculate Grid when you leave a comment on Apple and give us a 5-star rating, and we can add them to our mental bank of players to use. So,
John
all right,
Butcher.
boys.
Great pitcher.
I challenge you to an obscure
The
twins
80s were
name off.
the 80s before the World Series are so ripe with obscure twins. Oh my God, it was great.
All right, that's a wrap. Score North Twin Show. Hang on for dear life, Twins.
Ah!